Hi, I'm Guy,
Hi, I'm Troy.
and this is Geek Tank.
It was like 10 degrees yesterday, size podcast.
It really was. It was brutally cold.
hmm
We went and saw the extended edition of Return of the King last night.
Yeah,
That was really cool, actually.
I'd seen it before, and I'd actually seen it in the same setting as like the extended edition of the other two.
You just
It
had to
was
go
at
to the bathroom a lot.
it was at Dan's.
Oh yeah,
hmm
yeah.
Bakudan.
This was at the theater.
Did they give you an intermission?
Nope.
Did you make it through without having to go to the bathroom?
Yep, I
All
did,
right.
and actually, impressively, Kiddo stayed. Although at the end, Kiddo did indicate that they were done. They were cooked. That was beyond their. But they stayed
hmm
to see the end. But I have to agree that with the extended edition of Return of the King, it does seem like, haha, we've ended the movie. Wait, there's one more scene. Haha, we've ended that scene. Wait, there's one more scene. Haha, we've ended that scene. Wait, there's one more scene. It did feel like that. I could see, we beat the bad guys. Wait,
Yes.
there's now still 45 more minutes of movie ahead of us. But we beat the bad guys. You know, I could see
Why?
definitely, you know,
That's the advantage of watching it at home is you can pause it.
yeah, that's what happened with Fellowship. We didn't manage to get tickets for Fellowship. We had tickets for Two Towers and Return of the King, but we didn't manage to get tickets for Fellowship. So we watched it here, which aggravatingly ended up being much more expensive than I wanted it to be. I mean, as in I paid $5 for it. I
Oh,
didn't want to, but we started with, oh, okay, well, let's watch it on streaming because I know I've got the discs somewhere in this house, but it'll take me some time to find it. And we've got it. It looks like it's on Apple TV, or it wasn't on Apple TV. It was on Amazon.
hmm
So we're like, cool, we'll go to, oh, no, it wasn't. It was on Hulu. So we went to Hulu and started watching it, and we're enjoying it. We're sitting there, and then all of a sudden, it goes to a commercial break in the middle of a word. And the commercial break's like 5 minutes long. And then it comes back from the commercial break to finish the
hmm
word, which we've now forgotten what they were saying because they
hmm
were in the middle of a sentence. So, it's like they come back to, and that's why. And you're like, what's why? I don't even
Yeah.
remember where we were. And then after, so that was one. I was like, okay, there better not be more. And then like 10 minutes later, we went to another 5 minute break or something ridiculous. And I'm like, with Fellowship, this means that we're going to end up watching 7 hours for this movie just because they're going to break so often for these commercials. I'm not doing this. So I was like,
Uh oh.
well, where else is it? Because this is just, I
One
was
of
going
us
to
said,
say that
yeah.
this is annoying because this is one of the streaming services.
Am I freezing up on you
Yeah.
because you were freezing up on me? You're not freezing up
Oh,
now. You froze
uh,
up earlier.
did you get all of the words that I was saying?
Yeah, it froze up and then it continued.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so anyway, it was a streaming service that I had paid for.
Ah,
And so I'm always annoyed whenever I have a monthly fee and you get commercials.
yeah.
I'm like, I could watch this on regular terrestrial TV.
Mhm.
The worst part is I own the discs. I just don't. I've been doing so much packing and moving and shuffling of stuff around. I don't know where they went. They're somewhere safe, I'm sure.
And
So finally,
had I known, I'm looking at my collection right there of the special
right.
edition.
Well, it was one
And
of
I
those
and
things,
I could have loaned you this.
right? Exactly. But I mean, it was one of those things where it was like we were all sitting there. We had already bought our snacks and everything. We had our dinners. We were ready to go. And then it was this commercial break fiesta. And then it was like, well, I don't want to do commercial break fiesta. And then after that, it was, so we finally went and rented it for $5 so we could watch it off of.
Trying to get it to focus. Doesn't want to focus. So yeah, you had to go and pay that. See if I'm moving it closer. right here. There. So you ended up having to pay to actually get the movie, not just the service.
And I'm like, that was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And all it was just this is all stupid. This shouldn't, and it's making me do I don't know if I'm as interested in all of these streaming services anymore anyway. So
yeah, the ones that have like, well, wait, you want the gold plus platinum package if you want to get no commercials,
right? You're only paying $30 a month. You need to be paying $70 a month to get the gold extra. Yeah, okay, really.
This is our version. This is now our version of the old man of burgers were a nickel back in my day.
Yeah.
Back in my day, when we didn't have to pay for the 50,000 tiers.
I'm noticing that with all of these subscriptions, my subscription thing, just the number of subscriptions that I'm subscribed to has crept up over the while now, and I'm noticing I'm paying well over $100 and something a month on subscriptions, and that's not cool.
It's stupid.
Yeah. And I mean, because it's it's a whole bunch of $5 here and $5 there and $5 here and I'm like, okay, but that means that it's starting to become a significant, and a lot of it is like I still have to pay for Adobe, and that's obnoxious. And their student version has crept up now. So originally the student version was $25, now it's $45, and the full version is like $100. And I'm like, okay, guys, you can't just keep making us. I mean, we're not getting raises as fast as you guys are raising everything. So, cost of living, guys. Sorry, we're going to have to raise everything. That's great, but we're not getting any better here. So, anyway, that was frustrating. But the long and the short of it was that kiddo made it through about halfway through Fellowship, and I wasn't really sure because we had to watch the other half the next night because that was just the way that went. Okay, no problem. And I was worried. Then Two Towers, they got up in the middle and went outside and just walked back and forth in the hallway a little bit, just kind of get the energy out, and then came back in about halfway through, and that was cool. And so I was like, I didn't have much hope for Return of the King because Return of the King's 4 hours and 15 minutes in its extended version. And so I'm like, I don't have a lot of, but no, they stayed there for the whole thing. Didn't even get up to go to the bathroom. Stayed there the entire time and stuck it out. And I mean, they did check their phone every like few minutes to make sure what time it was, see how long it was, But I think also part of it was that they weren't listening when everybody was talking about how this was a monster 4 hour and 15-minute long film. And so at 3 hours, they started going, shouldn't this be done yet?
This has broken the pattern of what I'm used to.
Right? They knew that these were long movies. They knew that the first one was 3 hours and it was the short version. And the second one was 3 hours and it was 3.5 hours and it was the long version. So they knew that there was a certain amount of, but they had no idea that the Return of the King was so long. Anyway, so there you go. That was our experience here on that. The theater was lovely. It was the promenade here. So that's got the little recliner seats. Those are cool. I do dig those. And for Return of the King, I was on the end. So I had a gap between the stairwell and my seat so I could put all my stuff there and like have my popcorn off to the side and stuff. It was great. So I was all decked out and ready to go. It was pretty cool. So that was cool.
Nice. Improv show went well that you weren't able to make because of the movie.
Because of the movie?
Yeah.
You survived it? You didn't die?
I did die because we did Chain Murder Mystery.
Oh, there you go.
So there was a death. There was like multiple deaths.
Mm.
Speaking of the theater and the geeky stuff, did you see the local controversy in the theater world here? Parker specifically. Let me pull it up so I can give exact details. Hey.
Yeah, I know. It's like it is a requirement for the Tillans to see they must see.
Hmm.
You know, the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Here we go. I'll pull from the Westward article. So there's a musical of Shrek being put on in Parker. Scroll down. The town of Parker. Parker Arts staff informed the Watch Productions that they had received complaints that the musical was using pride flags in one of the pieces. I've not seen Shrek the musical, so I'm not familiar with the songs that were put into it that aren't in the movie. But apparently, there's a song called "Freak Flag," which is about acceptance of people regardless of any difference. And the director choreographer decided to put in pride flags in that scene, and there was a complaint about it, apparently from one of the sponsors or something, and so that's caused kind of an uproar because I don't know if our listeners know this, but there seems to be a sizable amount of LGBTQ community in the theater.
Yeah.
So go figure.
Weird.
And also, it's a little ironic to be telling a production to not use a flag that promotes unity in a piece using a song that promotes unity. So there.
That is kind of strange. Yeah, I would think that everybody would know at this point in time that LGBTQ is pretty much like everywhere in that community. Like
right.
That's been known since literally the 20s. So,
so
over 100 years, this is where LGBTQ has been.
So the director is like, oh yeah, we're after hours. I don't have to censor myself. The director is quoted as saying, "Fuck you," and
right.
And the cast basically decided we agree with the director, and one of the actors in the piece, right before that scene was going to happen, the very next time it aired, paused, like stopped what they were doing, and took it upon themselves to say, "We were asked not to use this flag in this next scene, but we've chosen we're going to do this." And then they performed the scene with the flag. Afterwards, the community that had said, "Oh no, we weren't telling you couldn't use it. We were just suggesting maybe you shouldn't." So they started to backtrack the language that they had used, type thing, with it to try not to get the ire of the community upon them. And what it really was is one of the higher paying sponsors was the person who really had the problem with it. And so, of course, they then pulled their sponsorship out, which luckily it doesn't. I don't believe they need it. It's just more useful if your sponsors don't pull out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was one of those things that you think you've heard all the stupid stuff, and then more stupid stuff happens.
So. Yeah, that's just that's interesting,
right?
Yeah, anybody I don't even know how to really like comprehend that.
Right. So yeah, that's on multiple levels of stupidity there, and so yeah, that's my theater news. What other fun stuff?
I mean, we do.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna go on ahead and move on. So if you still got stuff,
I was gonna say, hey, why don't you tell us about your school search?
Oh yeah, school search. That's not going as well as I wanted it to. So for those of you who aren't up to speed yet, I graduated from MSU Denver in December.
Congratulations.
And thank you. In anthropology. And I'm specializing in neurodivergence, autism, and specifically a problem that's occurring in Japan called hikikomori, which is a social problem that they're finding where people just withdraw from society. They just all of a sudden drop out of society, and they become recluses in their apartment until ultimately either they run out of resources or they become a ward of the state. And and it's becoming a significant enough problem that people are starting to try to look into it. And so I have and by the way, the theory that I've got is not new. There's a lot. Thank you, Kristen. There's a lot of people who actually believe that there's a connection between the two. Autistic people tend to have a problem with social situations. Um, and so, one of the theories that I have been working on that people seem to be in the same zone of is that these autistic people probably make up a lot of those hikikomori people. And that's because Japan's very structured and very rigid about some of their social structures and concepts. And if you don't understand all of the things that are going on and the subtle talking and the undertones of everything, then you end up getting sort of punished in society over and over and over there until finally it's like, why? You know? um, right? But I mean, this is more along the lines of they just give up. And um, for those of you guys who are not familiar with it, of course, I'm also on Spectrum. And one of the things that I've been kind of looking into here is that I have often felt like I said something wrong. I don't know what I said, but I said something wrong. And everybody just ostracizes me from something, either it's a job or work or something, or when I was a kid, of course, aspects of school, um, and stuff like that. And so, one of the things I really want to do is research that and go to graduate school and work on that, specifically in Japan. But I'm having a real problem because getting a graduate degree, getting in and working as a PhD is not as simple as just filling out the application at a school. You're supposed to talk to people and get them to agree to take you on as a graduate student. That's the rule. So I've been emailing all these people and nobody's responding, which is making me go, am I saying something wrong? Is there something going on? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I have had some responses, so it's not like I'm completely speaking. I mean, like, talked to a professor at George Washington University, and he said your entire thing sounds really awesome, but because of the new policies going on with the government, we're not taking on PhD students anymore. Same thing at CU Boulder. Um, and I did get a response from Tsukuba, which is a city that I really want to go to, because that's really close to where I was before when I was in Japan. Um, so, so I'm hitting everything on this one. My assistant, the professor that I'm working with at my school at MSU, who's still working with me, even though I've graduated, because she's a lovely human being. Um, Her recommendation was to go everywhere in the world, hit every university in the world that's in the field. Start with obviously Japan, but hit other places too. So, that way you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. Um, so I've been writing to every university in the world. There's like 4 or 5 of them in the UK. There, the University of Pisa, at which time I'm assuming I would have to go to school like this all the time. Um, you know, in Italy, they're working on it. So that's definitely, I mean, like there's all kinds of stuff where there's places all over the world where they're working on it. There's a couple places in Singapore which are working on it. So KU, I didn't see anything at KU that was working in the field. So I'm doing a very special thing because I'm not doing autism work. I'm doing autism as a social problem, which is a different thing. A lot of times when you see autism out there, they're working on the medical side. They're working on how to cure it. I'm looking more along the lines of, is there a way to fix the communication problems between autistic people and neurotypical people? And that's one that I think needs to be really worked on. How do you deal with, going to a job? If you're always getting fired, especially people who are really high functioning, and that's not a very or not a very positive term to use, but go with me on this one. When you're really, really, really high functioning, it's hard to tell that you've got a disorder or a problem. And then you say something and people get very angry with you and you have zero clue why. And you have no idea. You know what I mean? Like, um, it could be a good example. I was trying to, the one that I often use when discussing this is the, does this dress make me look fat? That old joke that they use on TV all the time, right? An autistic person is going to take you at your word and say, yes, it makes you look fat. You probably should find a different dress, because they're not thinking about all of those other, they don't see all of those other pieces in society, the weight that we put on, for lack of a better word, on women's looks and their weight and all of those things that are just messy and gross and terrible. We don't see that or think of that. We don't make that connection one to one. And so what we end up doing is saying, the person comes in, does this dress make me look fat? We say, yes, you need to change dresses. They start crying. We have no idea what the problem is. That's completely, we don't, how did we get there? They asked me a question, we answered. So that's a good example of how high functioning can be a problem, because you don't know. And every time, and so that's one of the things I really want to work on is, so that's the problem, is I could dip into the medical side, but I'm afraid they just put me into neurology, and then I wouldn't be doing the thing I'm trying to fix. All I'd be doing is finding a cure for autism, which I could waste the rest of my years trying to find a cure for autism, and that's not going to help anything. I think that I really want to head in this other direction because this is important to me. The number of times that I have had a problem getting a job or holding a job, the number of times that things like Troy and I would get into an argument over things, and I have no idea why Troy's mad. You know what I mean? Like, or whatever. Mm-hmm. I'm just making an example of Troy because Troy is below me here, right here. Anyway, but I mean, like, right? Exactly. But no, I mean, and it actually is true. A lot of the stuff that made me start to realize that there was something else going on were the endless arguments I had with Troy back in the days about things
that you didn't know why. Yeah,
I had no idea why I was making Troy so angry, and I think a lot of it was I kept presenting information as if I was an expert in the field, and you could be an expert in the field, but socially it's not appropriate to come up and say, I know everything about this. You know what I mean? Like, it's not socially acceptable. And there was conflict there. And I don't know, I'm speculating, by the way. This is
well, there's a variety of reasons. That definitely could have been one at one point.
Of them. Yeah. Well, that's the one that I have identified has been a problem with many people. One of the reasons why I'm headed for a PhD specifically is so that people will stop being mad about me saying I'm an expert in the field. You know what I mean? Like, once you have a doctorate, you are an expert in the field. So nobody can really naysay you whenever you say I am an expert in the field. They can, but they're in the wrong, technically speaking. And a lot of it has to do with, that's kind of one of the issues. So anyway, that's where I've been going with this. I have a list of universities, and I've been writing to professors and seeing if anybody is taking on graduate students, and asking if they're taking on graduate students, and I'm getting silence, which is discouraging. And the only times I'm getting any kind of response is, oh, your thing sounds great, but we're not taking graduate students at all. So, because the current presidential administration's wiped out everything. So yeah, exactly. And that's part of the reason that I want the PhD. And that's what started that entire thing. Was I promised myself I would go back to school, which was already something that I was mad about. Because for those of you who haven't caught on to this part of the story, I already had a degree with Westwood College, and I went to Japan on that degree. And when I came back from Japan, we found out that Westwood College had defrauded its students by saying that they were accredited and they weren't, which meant that my bachelor's degree was effectively null. I still had it, but nobody was going to accept it because it didn't have accreditation. So I went from having a bachelor's degree to effectively not having a bachelor's degree. And a lot of times, a lot of people were saying, just, maybe the accreditation doesn't matter. Well, if you want to get a teacher's license, it does. If you want to get a master's degree, it does. If you want to get a PhD, it does. Yep, one of those for-profit colleges. So I was mad for a good decade. I was just angry and just going to sit here and just student my own juices on that one. But then I finally decided to go back to college, and when I did, the way I bribed myself, so to speak, was I'll go get a PhD. That way I don't feel like I just went to college twice and did it twice. I went back to college to do the thing that I had done before. So that was part of the bribe. But then when I was at college, I started to realize that anthropology is more than just digging up bones, which is what most people think anthropology is. There's a whole bunch of other stuff going on with anthropology. So that's where I ended up. And that's why I'm here. It's just frustrating that I'm not getting anywhere. I'm afraid I'm doing something wrong. Like, gee, guy, when you write your messages to all these professors, you're using the word, beeple bop. Never use that word. Why would you ever do that? Or more accurately, never say, dear Professor so-and-so. You're supposed to say, to whom it may concern, or something like that, where it's a code thing that you're never supposed to say this. You're always supposed to say that. And if you don't, people will get offended and kick it out. It's actually kind of funny because it's so much easier for me to deal with Japanese stuff. Like in a Japanese letter, you're supposed to open with a statement about the weather. Like that's what you're supposed to do in a Japanese letter. You're supposed to start there,
Interesting.
Right? We've been here for a long time. Long enough to know who you are. Call you by name.
He knows where you live.
I know where you live. I don't actually know where you live. Probably don't want to know where you live either. I know what city you live in. But yeah. That's yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, and that's so whatever they did do, whatever they did do, Kristen, not going against what you're saying, because you're absolutely right. Their national accreditation was also borked for some reason because I couldn't get into any college anywhere either on it. So I couldn't get to CU. I took shots at all kinds of places, and they were all like, yeah, unfortunately, we're going to make you start at, as if you're a freshman. There's nothing we can do.
You're a white belt.
Yeah. So whatever they did, they borked the whole thing. And I think, Kristen, I do believe that it's a finer gradation. Like they were not accredited for these years and were accredited for these years. So if you were in these years, you're okay. If you're in these years, you're not okay, sort of thing. So I think that it's, because I seem to remember that part of it was that they were accredited for one of my 3 years, but not accredited for the other two, which was part of the problem. You know what I mean? Like something weird like that. I remember that being part of the whole mess.
Well, it's not a mess.
Yep. I know exactly what's not a mess. And that is our sponsors. Because Geek Tank is sponsored by Kieran Games, Geekway Homes, The Massage Wizard, and your
mom. Me casa el mama. So yeah, thank you, sponsors, for being sponsors.
Yep. And Kristen's also mentioning something that actually I've got to give MSU lots of props for. CU Boulder wasn't going to give me anything for for transfer credits. They were going to have me start all over from scratch.
Wow.
But MSU credited me 90 credit hours. So, and it actually, that was at the recommendation of the admissions people at CU Boulder. They were like, yeah, we think that MSU will take your credits. So, well,
Nice.
I mean, that's cool. Kind of, it's like a lot of things. This particular thing, I think that's part of the reason why I'm so frustrated by this whole situation. Is it seems like everything has been the longest road. You know what I mean? Like it's for this whole thing. It's been just such a long, and all I want to do is just help people. You know, it's like I just want to help folks. You know, it's like, but everything's because now it's looking like the best option would be for me to go to a university in Japan to get a master's degree in education so that I would be in Japan so that it'd be easier to get my PhD and get back on path. But the education thing would be 2 years on a different track. Wouldn't hurt. It won't hurt at all to have a master's in education. That's not going to hurt at all, except that it's not on path and it's not direct, which means that I'd spend 2 years doing the master's, then 4 years on my PhD, making it 6 years instead of getting a 4-year combined PhD. Which would have been a different. Anyway, it's just I'm 53. You know, I don't really want to spend 6 more years and then get out and finally start my work at 59 years old. You know, right at 60 years old, I finally can get out there and do stuff. It's not to say that at 60 I'm, dead, but
that's usually when people are looking at retirement.
Right. People are looking at retirement and I'm starting at 60, and it's, it's one of those, that's the other reason, by the way, that I'm headed for a PhD, because 90-year-old PhD professors are common. Whereas, 90-year-old people working in the workforce are not. And frankly, I didn't work at very many jobs that had 401ks, so don't have much in the way of a retirement plan. So part of the reason why I'm doing all of this is because I have not been very successful at the job market. I've never really been terribly successful holding down a job, staying with a job. And it's not because I'm a bad worker. I do the work very well. I'm a bad employee sometimes, and I don't know why. And I think I'm starting to finally hone in on why. And so, it's like that's part of why I want to get into this field specifically is if I can come up with a way so that other people who are in my position are less likely to be frustrated, less likely to be, and be able to be a successful person in life, that would be great. I'm finally getting my act together at 50 years old. That's a little late, and as I've said, I'm tired of being right at the edge of poor, never really having enough money to cover all the bills. I'm always constantly just a little short all the time.
Yep. Now it's documented. Guy has said that he is frustrated with being edged.
Yep, exactly. It is frustrating.
That's what I read.
Right? It's just a frustrating thing.
It's a frustrating thing.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's kind of why all of this is like, by the time I finally get around to all of this, hoping I don't die from the stress of trying to get around to all of this, sort of thing. It's kind of like, oof.
Anyway, dying messes up everything.
Dying messes up my plans. I got plans. So that's the story of why I am doing what I am doing and what the point of it is and why I'm headed where I'm headed. And I just need to figure out. It's like applying for a job. I've been applying for jobs since 2013. I've had
Mhm.
exactly one interview, and that was with my current job as a driving instructor. It's the only interview I've had in the last, 13 years or whatever.
Mhm.
So that's the only one that I've ever had. Every job that I've ever gotten has been where I've been able to sit down and have a face to face discussion with somebody. If they look at the paperwork that I'm sending out, it's getting circular filed somehow. Everything's getting ejected.
Oh, I guess. Can you
Would
hand
you
it
like?
to me?
There we go.
Can I get more time?
Yep.
Thank you.
I have my phone now.
Everything is, every time I turn in a resume, it's being ejected, and now it's being ejected by AI, but
Mhm.
that means I'm doing something wrong. I'm saying something wrong on my resume. Something is not correct.
Have you
'Cause
tried Jet? Have you tried Chat GPT?
right? Well, and one of the, I mean, like, this has become remarkably frustrating to me because there have been jobs where I swear it says, I'm looking for Guy Davis, and I apply, and they're like, yeah, not you. You know what I mean? Like there was this one job that I applied for. They were looking for a teacher who had teaching experience, who had published a comic book, and they ghosted me. I never got a reply. I'm like, there
Weird.
are so many teachers in the Denver area that have published comic books that I didn't even show up on the list. I'm like, and it was an art teacher, so they weren't looking for somebody with an art. Well, they were looking for somebody who had an art degree, but they didn't care if you had a degree or not. They said that would have been nice.
Hmm.
So, I mean, they weren't holding out on the degree. I wasn't getting round filed for my degree. And I'm like, and they told me that, they didn't even say anything. I didn't even get a thanks, but no thanks on that one. One that they had a couple of weeks ago that I applied for was an art teacher. They didn't need an art degree, but they needed a bachelor's degree, which I now have. And they were looking for somebody to teach art who was familiar with Adobe products and had worked with autistic people and had experience with autistic people, and never heard
Huh.
from them. They
Weird.
ghosted. And I'm like, hey, Donald. So, I mean, like, there's clearly something I'm saying wrong on paperwork. Because if I sit down with somebody, I can get the job. But I've never gotten to the point of sitting down with somebody,
Hmm.
with the exception of the brass armadillo and I know, right? Like, that just says me, and they ghost me. And it's so frustrating. All of these jobs are like, we need somebody who does all the things the guy does. And then I apply and they're like, yeah, somebody else. It's actually kind of funny because I've been listening to, why, thank you, Donald. I appreciate you. I've been listening to the podcast Once We Were Spacemen, which is Nathan Fillion and Alan Tudyk.
Mhm.
And they are talking about a number of things. And the funniest thing is that in the opening, they've got clips from the show that they use for the opening. And the one that they use in every opening is Nathan Fillion going, I once auditioned for a Nathan Fillion type and didn't get the job. And I'm like, that's me. I keep applying for the Guy Davis job and I never get the job.
But see, they said they wanted a Nathan Fillion type. They did not want Nathan Fillion.
Right?
You're too Nathan Fillion. You're overqualified for the job.
I just don't know how in the world they
Mhm.
didn't notice that Nathan Fillion
Was Nathan
applied for a
Fillion?
Nathan Fillion type. Like,
Mhm.
it's kind of like that story I had heard, or not heard. I was following Annie Lennox. I still am following Annie Lennox, but they've decided she's not my friend anymore or whatever.
Restraining
But
order.
yeah, restraining order. But Annie Lennox, at one point in time, apparently somebody reached out to her after they had heard something she had put on YouTube, and one of the radio stations in LA reached out to her and said, hey, we like your sound, we think we could make you a deal and make you a star. And she posted that to her social media and went, what do you think, guys? Think I got what it takes?
Mhm.
And I'm like, who would reach out to Annie Lennox and not know who Annie Lennox was?
Mhm. Well,
It
our
cracks me up.
one of our author friends was posting about how high name authors were writing her and stuff, and it was clearly like AI spam bots
Right.
and
This is
such.
this is before that. This was like a couple of years, 3, 4 years ago. So, because I don't think I've seen Annie Lennox in my feed in a long
Oh,
time. So
but
it's
same
plausible
thing.
she
Yeah,
doesn't post anymore, or I don't
it
know.
was yeah, it was probably an AI scam thing or one of those scam things.
Yeah, it might have been a scam thing, but it was still very funny.
Yeah.
I just still think that, it's hysterical that some
Mhm.
radio station wouldn't know who Annie Lennox was. Yeah. But I think that was cute. Anyway, so
Mhm.
yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
You go
Have
ahead
been
and
watching Starfleet Academy,
no way.
and I have decided that my review on this is going to be this.
Mhm.
When I heard that Starfleet Academy was coming out, I feared it would be a bunch of kids doing pranks with one another and kind of, like 90210 falling in love with one another sort of things, and I was right. But I love it. I'm actually loving it. I love every minute of it. It's getting bizarrely funny and I'm enjoying it. And it's interesting because I'm watching the Trek community do what the Trek community does well, which is completely come unglued because of it.
Yeah, they hate it.
So, yeah, a lot of people are. Um,
How
oh, yeah.
dare this show be
Dolly
exactly what a
Parton
pro
didn't win a Dolly Parton impersonator contest. That's awesome. That would have been awesome. Anyway, yeah, I think I've heard that one as well. It seems like some part of my brain's like, yeah, I remember that. But yeah, I'm enjoying it quite a bit. It is very interesting. The people who have written the characters have made some fascinating choices, and they are very, very interesting people. The characters are. I actually am rather invested. You know what I mean? Like I didn't think I'd get invested in a bunch of kids, at Starfleet Academy, but here we are. I'm invested in a bunch of kids at Starfleet Academy. And of course, it's got Holly Hunter, playing the main character, and she is a tour de force character. But I also, sorry, I'm trying not to cough. Um, so the funny thing about Holly Hunter specifically is so the character that she plays, the Chancellor, has a lot of like she sits on chairs funny and stuff like that. This is obviously a character trait that she's doing, but I realized something about this. She's in her 70s, Holly Hunter is, and she is just flopping around on chairs and lying around like a 16-year-old. You know what I mean? I'm like, if nothing else, that has got to be probably harder than it looks for her to pull that off. You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason why people our age do not just flop around on a chair and kind of, curl up with our knees up against our chin and read a book. You know what I mean? Like, we don't do that because our bodies don't do that as well. And so the fact that she can pull that off is a testament to her ability to keep flexible, but also she doesn't look like she's in her 70s. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, she's doing great. And that's another one of those things. She's got a youthful demeanor, she's got a youthful appearance, which she's playing Lanthanite, which is a character that has a lot. They are long lived. So she's 400 something years old. And the other Lanthanite that we have in the show is played by Carolyn King, who's playing in Strange New Worlds as another Lanthanite who lived all the way back, obviously in the 2000s in Canada. I think actually she wasn't in Canada, but yeah, we are getting older. But I mean, it's like it's so hard for it's I was just really impressed. So I'm actually really rather enjoying it. I didn't think I would. But that's the same thing that happened with Lower Decks. I was sure that I was going to hate Lower Decks because I'm so picky about animation. So much so that I'm not a big fan of Prodigy because it's 3D animated, and I'm not hot on that particular style of animation, and I never have been.
Hmm.
Which, by the way, as a side note, since we seem to be free associating tonight, um, League of Legends Arcane is probably the first 3D animated show that I actually really like.
Hmm.
It is very pretty, and they've done a really good job of making it pretty. So we've been watching that as well. Kiddo and I have.
Nice.
I was really into that. So yeah. So that's my thought on Starfleet Academy. I'm actually enjoying it quite a bit. It is exactly what I thought it was going to be. It's 90210 in space, but it actually is well written and smart and interesting because there's been a lot of lore over the years in Star Trek of what we did in our academy years, you know. Oh, that one time we did this one gag on this one person and joked that here and did this one thing. And so I knew there was going to be that kind of shenanigan stuff that was going to happen because Picard had a bunch of those stories and Kirk had stories. Everybody's had stories about the crazy things that they did as kids in Starfleet Academy. So it stood to reason that if you're going to do a show in Starfleet Academy, they were all going to do crazy things. But yeah. And of course, yep, I've heard that one too. I've heard Star Wars is in that Star Wars, the entire Star Wars thing seems to be doing a lot of interesting changes.
Hmm.
Because Donald's referring to Star Wars changing stuff, and I have heard rumbles out there about Darth Tanis. Is that right? Darth Tanis, I believe,
Hmm.
which is um, I think it was an extended universe character. I'm not sure,
Okay.
but it was in one of the original treatments of George Lucas. And so um, this is coming from a thread with, I think, Darth Maul.
Yeah. So I've got
So Darth
Darth
Ten,
Tanith is that
Darth
ancient
Maul's
Sith
Padawan.
Lord. Yeah, ancient Sith Lord who created a super weapon in the Sith Temple on the planet of Malator, late in the 17th, blah, blah, blah. Of the Sith Eternal was named after Darth Tanis. So, yeah, apparently like a super legend Sith is what it's sounding like.
So that's what I've heard. And Kathleen Kennedy is leaving, which Brent is alluding to. So here's the problem I have. There are a lot of people who wanted Kathleen Kennedy to leave. There are a lot of people that want Alex Kurtzman to leave. Alex Kurtzman's the person who's running the new Star Treks. And honestly, I like all the new Star Treks. And I wouldn't call myself as big of a Star Wars fan as I am a Star Trek fan, obviously. I am not nowhere near as much of a fan of Star Wars as I am Star Trek, but I typically am not 100% sure, is Kathleen Kennedy destroying Star Wars? Everybody says that Alex Kurtzman's destroying Star Trek. I disagree with that. I actually rather love the new Star Trek stuff. So, there are some episodes I'm not hot on. I'm
Mhm.
not, and I've never really been, I like Discovery, but it's not been one of the top 10 in my, but Strange New Worlds rocks, and so did Lower Decks. And, I'm enjoying both of those, and I'm really digging Academy. And, Prodigy was okay. Section 31 was really terrible, and I'm not sure what that was all about. And I was so looking forward to Section 31, and I'm so sad.
Mhm.
That's still one of the sads because I absolutely love Michelle Yao. and was so looking forward to a Michelle Yeoh movie, and it just wasn't good. And the worst part is, I think that may have soured the entire thing for Michelle Yeoh, and I
Mhm.
really wouldn't blame her. And I'm
I mean,
so
it's like you give your kid a tub of Legos expecting great stuff, and then you come back and they just made this like mess.
yeah.
That's just nothing artistic about it or clever or even just
No, and it hurts, and it
it's
was
like
just like, oh.
it's like you
And
get all
Michelle
this.
Yeoh, they had to do that to Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah, you got this great actor, you got this great source
I
material. There's
know,
all this potential of a bunch of different things you could have done, and you chose to do this.
right? That was my thought too. So
But somebody out there probably liked it or likes it, and so
yeah,
it's
although
it's for them.
right. I keep thinking about that too. It's Rotten Tomatoes is really high. The rating for it on the Rotten meter
Oh,
is pretty high. So that's not good. And
under
I
space
think that
genre, we need space cowboys. Oh wait, we did that.
right. And I'm still perfectly happy with Star Trek where it is, so I don't have any issue with it. It's and, don't I don't have a problem with it. I don't think it needs to be changed or altered. Or I think when you have almost 1,000 episodes, and we are really rapidly closing in on 1,000 episodes of Star Trek. When you have 1,000 episodes in a field, there are going to be episodes that you don't particularly care for. That's normal. Um, you know, yeah,
And that's that
there,
it could
and
that's
there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
it
and
may just that's its target audience is probably trying to get a younger
oh
crowd into
man,
Star Trek. So
Kiddo loves Academy, so
oh, there you go.
it's working. I mean, like they were back there just guffawing at all the jokes in there and just like really enjoying it. So Kiddo really digs Academy, and I like it a lot too.
I want to.
Um,
What was it? Give me a second. I think I remember what it was called. Is it, yeah, Degrassi High. I believe one of Kevin Smith's first works was a Canadian show called Degrassi High. It'd be interesting to see Kevin Smith get to write and direct an episode of Academy.
that would be cool. There are a couple of things that the thing I'm noticing is there is a contingent of people, because apparently one of the things that did happen was they a group of organized Academy haters review bombed it, and so it was doing good, and then they review bombed it. And my whole thing is, I don't mind if people don't like it, that's fine, but artificially adjusting the numbers so that they can kill the show is not cool. You know what I mean? Like that's ruining it for everybody else. And I'm noticing that there is a lot of that now with a certain group of people. The I don't like it and therefore it should die. Like, and it's not just people who do that. I mean, it's when I'm in a discussion in a thread. I'm actually enjoying Starfleet Academy. And the next post is, you shouldn't, it's stupid. And I'm like, thanks for speaking for me. you know, like, okay. But, and then somebody even said, oh, it was actually really funny. In one of these things, they were like, you're obviously too young to remember what TOS was like. And I was like, oh, yeah. I'm too young. Let's go with that. I like that one. Let's stay there, us youngins. And I spent the entire reply going, as a youngin, as a young person, and I just kept replying like that because it was so funny. I'm like, it's very funny.
Yeah, Smith is definitely a much bigger Star Wars fan than he is of
Yeah.
Star Trek.
There's a new Stargate. Yeah, I saw that one too. We got lots of stuff coming up. That's kind of cool. We're still suffering from sort of the after effects of the writer's strike a couple of years ago and COVID. COVID and the writer's strike in combination was not good for the industry. A lot of projects have gotten suspended or moved around or shipped to different, or just even just shelved, which is what I was trying to say instead of shipped. I said shelved, um, shelved and stuff like that. And yeah, Kristen and Sid's trolling. It's not just that. It's like a certain group of these people are just so sure that they're right, And it's like, I like Starfleet Academy. If you don't like Starfleet Academy, that's totally cool. Where are those people? Why can't we just have people who are like, I don't like Starfleet Academy? It's cool that you like Starfleet Academy. Why does it have to be Starfleet Academy is so bad and you shouldn't like it? Like, why do you have to make it there,
Mm-hmm.
Right? The SAG strike was not good for it either. Yeah. Yeah. It's true.
So potentially there will be a premiere this year of the new Buffy the Vampire Slayer series, which is a continuation, not a reboot.
Yeah.
So I
with
believe
Sarah Michelle Gellar in it.
Yep, training the new Slayer.
Yeah. Which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's neat. And we've got of course the Star Wars movie Mando and Grogu, which I'm kind of thinking is fun. I think that'll be good. I mean, the thing is that I like it when Star Wars decides to dig in that zone. I really liked Andor. That was excellent. And Rogue One is easily one of my favorite Star Wars movies, period.
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever people say, Kathleen Kennedy, I'm like, well, okay, but on her watch, we got Andor and Rogue One, and I get it. I didn't particularly care for Boba Fett that much. So I kind of follow. But I don't understand like all the hate on the Star Wars, the last 3 Star Wars movies, but it's okay. I don't need to. You know what I mean? Like, I liked them. I mean, I moderately liked them, I guess, but it's not like they were my favorites, but they certainly weren't horrible, in my opinion. So I don't get it. And that's okay. I don't have to get it. It's, you know what I mean? Like, that's the whole point. I don't have to get it. There's nothing wrong with that. So.
Yep. Other show I've been watching that had been recommended to me by multiple people, and I'm finally getting around to it, is Ted Lasso.
Oh, yeah.
Which I don't have iTunes TV, so I'm having to randomly find it in places that I won't mention. So, but it's very charming. It's I think you might actually enjoy it, Guy.
Okay.
So cool. It's interesting. It's got a lot of the main character would be a fun character to make a role playing character off of, because he's just overly optimistic and has a lot of fun little sayings that he uses. But the plot around it is he's very, very minor league football coach who gets hired to go coach soccer in London, and he knows nothing about soccer. And it's
because he's a football coach. Gotcha.
Yes, right.
That makes it funny.
And
okay, I get it.
And the to give away a little bit of the very first selling the 7 Seas, correct. To give away just a little bit of a spoiler of the very first episode is to take over a high league soccer team, because it's kind of like the producers and where it's going with its plot. The person who hired him intentionally wants the team to fail. So hiring somebody who knows nothing about it, but this person's overly optimistic, so he's not going to fail.
Right.
So it's
and he's a football coach, and he's in a football team, so that makes total sense.
Right. But yeah, it's fun. Let's see.
I might like that. You're right.
Yeah.
That sounds like a kind of thing that I would enjoy.
Yeah.
And no jump scares, which is great.
I think I'm in season 2, and I'll remember exactly where it was. There was one jump scare, and it was one of those of like highlighting how weird one person was because it was a very inappropriate jump scare, and it was like, you shouldn't be dating this person, because Guy would have been like, I'm breaking up with you right now.
Right
It's not acceptable.
now. We're done.
We're done. But yeah, it's one of those that I never watched because every commercial, it's like, oh look, it's another sports show. I don't care if it's a comedy.
Right.
It's sports. But yeah, there's a lot more to it that makes it more interesting.
Right.
Uh,
Which is cool. That is
Mhm.
cool. I think I'd be into that. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since you were talking about Lord of the Rings earlier, and this will be our last bit since we're already up here on 10. I did finish Rings of Power, which actually season 2, which I enjoyed 1 and 2, and I understand a lot of people didn't like it, but there's not a lot of options for sword and sorcery stuff out there right now.
Yeah.
And I felt like the feel was, to me, it still felt like a Lord of the Rings universe, and the characters and the storyline was still interesting. But so yeah, if your kiddo starts going, what other Lord of the Rings things can I watch? I don't think it's necessary to avoid it. It wasn't horrible.
Right.
So,
And I think really, of course, that was the discussion was, D&D is Lord of the Rings. They just had to change things so that, of course, kiddos really into D&D, and so it was kind of cool to watch D&D and live, so to speak.
yeah.
The original D&D as it was supposed to be. And
Yeah, Brent's right. I was not giving a lot of details just because I didn't want to go too far into it, but
yeah,
but I don't think you spoiled anything.
No. And that is definitely a thing. So search for Gollum. We were just talking about that one last night on the drive back. I don't know whether I think that's kind of cool. I think that's gonna be a thing. So, but one last interesting little tidbit. I discovered a YouTube channel that is so bizarrely interesting, and it's just this guy has a camera and he puts it on he goes on certain trains in Japan and puts it in the front window and just records the train going back and forth on these, and you catch the sound of the train on the clack 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 across the tracks, and the little announcer Mamunaku, like you hear like all the things, and it's very nostalgic. But one of them was really cool. It was this run through Yokohama, and I guess it must have been the middle of summer because there were just fireworks going off everywhere. And it was just cool because it's the Yokohama Sea Line anyway, so it's on the ocean. So you're going through all these little marinas and stuff like that, and there's all these fireworks going off, and I'm like, wow, this is actually fascinating. So cool little channel.
Yeah.
So yeah, there we go. But I think we've run out of time, and now I'm running out of things to say. So,
Alrighty.
which is amazing because I never run out of things to say. So there you go.
Alrighty.
Well, thank you all for joining us, Kristen and Donald and Brent. I'm so glad to have all of you guys here. And we even had Doom somebody. I've got to scroll back quite a bit.
I must have missed it.
Yeah, he was right at the very beginning, joined us. I just want to say his name correctly because I won't.
Good luck.
Yeah, I know. It's horrible because I'm terrible about that. Dr. Doom 1116.
Yes.
But yeah. So he was here too for a moment. They were here. I guess we don't know. But I mean, Dr. Doom was he. So that's the only thing I'm working on there. I have nothing on that one. Anyway,
you didn't put that.
I'm really glad all of you guys joined us. Is really what I'm boiling down to. So I'll see you all later.
Until next time.
Talking to you.
Until next time.
Until next time. I've been Guy.
I've been Troy.
And this